I just love a murderous woman. Like, I can't help it, okay? I'ma love it when a female character murders a man. Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing books you can binge part 2. I'm here to recommend you more books that you can binge read because I think we need more of those. I really love this video. I did this last year. So if you want to watch my previous books to binge video, then I will have that link down below. Before we continue, I want to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Book of the Month. You know I love Book of the Month and I'm going to tell you all about them. Let's go. Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and help readers discover books they love. Every month, their teams vet hundreds of books and curates a list of new and early release titles so that you can spend less time researching and more time reading. Book of the Month is risk-free, so you can skip any month, anytime, and you will not be charged. They have the best price for new release hardcover fiction. You can get your first book for just $9.99 when you sign up for Book of the Month and use the code Hayley. $9.99 for a sometimes new release debut author hardcover book is an amazing deal. Those books usually run up to like $30, so $9.99, you better hop on that. So today I'm going to tell you about their 7 picks from March. First up, we have their literary fiction pick, The Verifiers by Jane Peck. Family drama, dating app woes, and artificial intelligence. Oh my, this witty debut novel has something for everyone. Their contemporary fiction pick, The Unsinkable Greta James by Jennifer E. Smith. Take a cruise with your estranged dad, they said. It'll be a fun, not at all awkward bonding experience, they said. Their thriller pick, The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. A perfect read for every true crime fan who suspected they might just get to the bottom of things better than the pros. Their romance pick is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. Oh my gosh. Okay. I read this title about 18 times, and this was the first time that I read it not as Dating Dr. Phil. And I was like, what is it? I thought it was a Dr. Phil book. I was really confused. I'm now glad it's not Dr. Phil. It's Dr. Dill. The Taming of the Shrew remixed and remade. Can a love-averse TV doctor and a hopeless romantic spark an unlikely romance? I think they can, and I will be tuning in to see it happen. Their fantasy pick, The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. When her father turns up dead in the New York Public Library, a disgraced map maker has to find her true north ASAP. Their mystery pick, The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Sometimes you visit the City of Lights and the vibe is just off. You know what I mean? Looking at you, neighbors. True crime pick, Tell Me Everything by Erica Krause. An unforgettable, thrilling look at the life of a private investigator working to uncover evidence for a historic case. I never read a true crime book before, but y'all know I love true crime, so I'm really intrigued by this. Wait, I have read a true crime book before. I read one last year. And it was good, and I will be reading another one. Thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. If any of these books sounded interesting to you, definitely click the link in my description and sign up for Book of the Month because you can get your first book for just $9.99 if you use my code Hayley. Thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into the bingeable books that I have for you. I have a little something here for everyone. Hopefully I have some YA contemporary, I have some YA fantasy, I got some adult romances, some adult fantasy, I even got a sci-fi. So we got a little something here for everyone. So first up, I'm gonna start with YA because I just think that that is the right thing to do. I don't know. Let's get into it. Okay, YA. The first book I have is a book I've talked about a million times, and that is Not My Problem by Sierra Smith. And it is so funny. It's a sapphic YA contemporary. It's about our main character. She kind of starts a little side hustle where she helps her classmates solve their problems. And it's like interesting because like she has a lot of problems like with herself and her family, but she can't seem to figure them out. So she's like helping other people figure out their problems. But I love this character because she's so carefree. She's just such a teenager. Sierra Smith is really has a great voice for YA. I love that. Also, this book was very funny. The banter between the students is hilarious, and this book is so casually queer. It's just a girl figuring out she has feelings for someone along the way. Like it's not really focused on the romance, but it is so good. It's so cute, and it is kind of like that enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, you know. I love it. It's great. Oh my god, there's a whole piece of hair on my titty. Why did no one tell me that? Oh, okay. The next book that I have is All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. You guys know Sabaa. This book literally just came out, and I am obsessed with this book. So anyway, I read the arc and it's one of my new favorite books of all time. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I've talked about it a million times already, but I'm going to tell you all about it again because you need to read it. This book is multi-point of view and it follows 2 teens. It kind of has like 2 timelines, but like the third point of view isn't as like main. if you read it, you'll get it. So read it. It follows these two Pakistani teens who they just recently had a huge argument. Like, they're best friends, but they just had a huge argument. So they're like not on speaking terms, and they're just dealing with a lot of issues within their family and their social lives. And this book, it does take place in school with teenagers, but it's different in the sense that these are marginalized individuals. They go to a predominantly white school. They are living in an environment, in a neighborhood that is actively against them. Like, them as Pakistani teenagers, where white people see brown people and just immediately want to cause problems and immediately want to blame them for everything. This book deals with, oh my God, just like so many family conflicts, so much family drama. It's so emotionally charged. There's a lot of like really, really tough situations that these characters are facing. And this whole time I was reading, I was like, I don't know how they're going to get out of this situation. They have to face a lot of really hard consequences. But I love her books so much because they're so real, in the sense that she doesn't let up the pressure, because the world doesn't do that. Like, just because, you know, it's a book and you might be thinking, hey, the author can do whatever they want. But then you think about it, in real life, the world and life doesn't let up the pressure. It doesn't let up on stress just because you can't take it. Like, it keeps going. And she really shows that in this book. Like, these characters be going through it, and then things keep getting worse. I just think that Sabaa Tahir has the mind of a mastermind, and I will never stop saying that because it's true. And if you haven't read one of her books, get out. No, I'm not kidding. Leave. The next book I have is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. First of all, the cover is stunning. Let's start there. But second of all, this book gives me Studio Ghibli fairy tale vibes. It is so heartwarming. It follows this young girl named Shiori who is having trouble hiding her forbidden powers, but when she gets caught, she gets sent away, and her brothers are threatened and they're turned into cranes, and she has to go on this whole journey of self-discovery. And then she realizes, while she's like basically exiled from her kingdom, that there's someone actually trying to threaten her kingdom and her family. It's like kind of like a coming of age, but she's a princess, so it's like her realizing that she needs to accept all these responsibilities and how to deal with those responsibilities. It just felt like a fairy tale. Like, the whole time I was reading it, I felt like I had little champagne bubbles in my stomach. Like, I wasn't getting butterflies. I was just very giddy and happy. I was very excited. This is a really cute book, but it is kind of dark. Like, there's some family stuff in here that is very traumatic. The last book that I have is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is a YA contemporary fantasy. And this book, when I tell you, is the epitome of Black girl magic. If you're looking for Black girl magic, read this book. It's like a reimagining of Arthurian legend, but you know, the main character is Black, and it takes place in the South, and it deals so much with intergenerational trauma within Black communities, and specifically how to deal with that grief of losing a loved one, because the main character has just lost her mom, and she's at this like college prep campus where, you know, it's predominantly white, and she's trying to deal with having just lost her mother, but also being like the only Black person in a completely white space, and then witnessing these heinous crimes, and then having to deal with that and suspicious magical activity going around. I explained it really badly, but basically she witnesses a magical attack, and she figures out that it probably has something to do with her mom's death, and she gets pulled into a lot of secret stuff on campus. That is all good and great. Like, the plot is great, but the main thing that I love about this book is just the way that Tracy Dion wrote about processing grief and healing, and really about the intergenerational bonds that come with being Black, especially a young Black girl. I really, really, really love that. Like, those are my favorite parts of the book. But I'm just saying, my favorite parts were the more intimate parts surrounding identity and grief and healing. Book 2 comes out in August. Next, we're moving on to the romance section. This is adult romance. Y'all smut lovers, I got you. Okay, so the first book I have is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is actually duology. It's the Bellinger sisters duology. And I am gonna say it again, but I'm mad because this book should be more than 2 books. No, this series should be more than 2 books. I need it to be 8 books because, first of all, I love the Bellinger sisters. Why in the world did Tessa Bailey sit here and say, okay, we're gonna only do 2 books? Like, no, do at least 4. I'm sick. It Happened One Summer is so good. It gives you grumpy sunshine. Okay, it gives you the small town romance vibe where the high maintenance girl has to like go off to this tiny little town as like punishment, and in order to prove herself that she's more than just a spoiled rich girl. And then she meets this like a brooding sailor man, and she has to like prove herself to him. And then there's like, obviously chemistry, and like, oh, it's so good. It's just so good. Like, if you love the small town romance and grumpy sunshine and high maintenance girl with a guy who just wants to spoil her, there's literally a line that says, spoiling you makes my dick hard. sometimes I forget that I'm at home and people can hear me filming. And also some of my professors and my family members watch my videos. If you are one of those, click away and unsubscribe. Stop watching me. Tessa Bailey, we all know, Queen of Smut. I read this book and I was shook. And I just think that Tessa Bailey, every time I read one of her books, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy because her characters have so much chemistry and then the smut is good. And like, I know this book is super popular and everyone already loves it, but I just think that we need to hear more about it because the Bellinger Sisters series is over. Next book I have for y'all is Party Favorites by Erin McClellan. And yes, I have talked about this book 1,000 times too, but I'm doing it again for the sapphics. This is a sapphic, smutty novella. I'm telling you, explicit sapphic smut. Because I be hearing people talking about, oh, it's always fade to black when it comes to sapphics. And it's true. It's always fade to black, or it's always like weirdly soft. Not weirdly, like some people are into that, whatever. But I'm like, give me the hardcore explicit stuff. This book has that. And guess what? It's friends lovers, it's best friends lovers, and it takes place over New Year's and on a vacation trip. You got the shared bed, the only one bed, forced proximity. I'm talking the smut, some of the best smut I've ever read. I don't read a lot of smutty novellas because they disappoint me a lot. This one was fire. The next book I have is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I know this book is super popular, but like, I'm sorry, I read this book and I was shook. And I don't know why, because one of my favorite romance books is a Christina Lauren book, but I think it's because this one is popular on Book Talk and I don't trust Book Talk, but this one, like Book Talk actually, like, you kind of went off with this one. Like, this book is good. This book, let me tell you, oh, this book is so emotional. You know, I love best friends to lovers, and this one is like childhood best friends to lovers to strangers, or to estranged friends to lovers again. And get this, second chance romance. Yeah, it has the most amount of angst you could ever believe. Like, I'm telling you, the angst is on another level. The yearning, ooh, oh my God, it's so good. Girl, because this book is emotional. Like, it deals a lot with like family trauma and like terrible things happening. And there's so many touching scenes between these characters. Like, there's so much chemistry, literally from page one. And this book is one of the most emotional, well-written emotional romance novels, I will say. Like, I actually connected to the characters and I understood why they did what they did and why there were certain limitations and certain hesitations that these characters had with being together. Like, it made sense. Half the time in second chance romance novels, I'd be like, can y'all just get over it? But for this one, I understood. So moving on to my extra adult section. I don't know why I said that sounded like explicit, like I'm about to recommend you porn. I'm not. This is not about smut at all. This is just my extra section where I have like horror and fantasy and thriller. And by that, I mean I only have 4 books and literally one of them is fantasy. And that is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. I recently read this book and I really enjoyed it. This is an actual enemies to lovers fantasy book. The world is so incredibly rich and atmospheric. This is a Hungarian-inspired fantasy and it's full of Jewish folklore. The world building is incredible. Like, sometimes, you know what? You know how some people are like, oh, I get lost in the world. First of all, I think that's a good thing because I want to get lost in the world, especially if I'm reading fantasy. And I did get lost in this world. I felt like I was there in the page, in the world, in the trees. And the trees are very significant here because of the woodsman. This is a great book. It honestly has one of the best first chapters I've ever read. Oh my God, the chemistry and tension between the love interests, it's actually insane. Like, if y'all are looking for that slow burn pining, and you know how you like the tension between enemies to lovers, these two are actual enemies. And I'm telling you, Ava Reed set them up right. Like, she did a great job. The next book I have is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. This is a thriller slash horror. I don't really know. I guess I'll just say it's a thriller. It's a thriller. It's about... Every time I introduce this book, I feel like a crazy person. But this book is about a woman who kills men and then eats them. That's all there is to it, really. It is... yeah. This book is great. First of all, it's beautifully written. Like, I love the prose in this book. I just love a murderous woman. Like, I can't help it, okay? I'ma love it when a female character murders a man. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I felt like I was on a road trip with this character, whatever that means. Like, oh, the next book I have is another murderous book, and it is They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Y'all know murderous women are my brand. And this one is perfect because it's sapphic. You have murderous sapphics. This is also a thriller. It takes place on a college campus and it follows a professor who goes around killing awful, awful men. And when I tell you it's so satisfying, because these men are terrible people. I support women's wrongs and women's rights, but more importantly, their wrongs. Obviously, murdering is wrong, but there's just something about it when it's a woman killing a terrible man. Okay, I said it. This professor is just out here trying to protect people on campus. Like, she's like, I'm gonna kill these terrible predatory male professors. And she does the damn thing, and she's great. And it's sapphic. Like, there's a full-on sapphic relationship in here. And I just love the commentary that this book has about men who just literally don't know when to quit. Like, that's what the whole title is, They Never Learn. Because it's like, a man could literally go through a whole traumatic incident with, you know, them literally fucking up some girl's life and then getting in trouble for it. And they still won't learn from that. They will still repeat their terrible behavior. Anyway, this is a great book and you should read it. The last book I have is After the Flood by Cassandra Montag. It's dystopian because the entire world has flooded. And so everyone's pretty much living on boats and stuff, or like that's like the best way to survive. But the only thing is that resources are super limited. So there are lots of rival enemy ships and there's fighting and you just can't trust anyone. High tensions here, very high stakes. And I love this book so much because it follows a mother and her daughter, and they're on a journey trying to find the older daughter who was like abducted earlier on, like years before. So this mom is like desperately trying to find her. The prose in this book is beautiful. The writing is amazing. I remember highlighting so many great lines, but also just the characters. I immediately fell in love with the characters and their dynamics. Like this mother-daughter duo, so iconic. Pearl is like 7, but I just love her. She's so cute. And like, I love her relationship with her mom, and just seeing the mom realize that like she focuses so much on something that she doesn't have, which is like her older daughter who has been missing for years. You see her throughout the book coming to terms with this huge loss. You see her processing this grief and this trauma of losing her daughter. And you see her start to understand why it's important to focus on what she has in the moment, because we notice that like Pearl is there and she's still very much a young girl and she needs her mom. This story is very much so about focusing on what's right in front of you, focusing on what you have, and like learning to accept loss and learning how to process that grief that comes along with losing something very important to you. I love talking about these books. They make me so happy. I love how there's such a mixture of things here. Like we have innocent high school fun, and then we have high school trauma, and then we have fantasy with dark magic, and then we have literal murderers and cannibalists. But anyway, those are all the books that I have. I hope that y'all find something interesting here. Someone here is gonna like these books. I'm gonna make sure of it. And if you can't handle the heat, then leave. I'm kidding. No, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel and like this video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below and let me know if any of these books sound interesting to you, or if you've read them, let me know your thoughts on them. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time with another video. Bye.